Hey friends, happy Friday. Welcome to this week's video. I'm super stoked to talk to you guys about this, and my inspiration for this was really when I started thinking about what we were going to have as our health and safety tip this week. And I don't want those to be boring ever. And so I saw something and I was like, hey, I really felt God saying like, hey, use this. I'm going to give you creative juice and you're going to use this. So without further ado, we're going to talk about being good stewards this week. And here's where I want to start off. I want to start off with, like, in the biblical sense, right? How is it in the Bible? How is it shown in the Bible that we should be good stewards? What are some touch points, right? And so in the biblical sense, it talks about using our resources really well. And resources meaning our talents, our money, our possessions. We should be taking care of those things and using them well, right? Using them wisely so that we can use them again. Our time, right? Like, so there's that saying, time is money. There's a reason that is a saying, is because your time has value. Your time has literal value, and so you should be using it wisely. Caring for others and the rest of the planet. So we should be caring towards others. We should be kind. We should help others, right? We talk about that quite a bit, and also just kind of taking care of the planet around us. That's what we were commissioned to do. It's in Genesis, right? We just went through the Genesis series. That was our purpose. That was one of God's purposes when he first started talking to Adam. When he first made Adam. Our own bodies. We should be taking care of our bodies. We should be nourishing our bodies, mind and spirit, and food wise. We should be treating our bodies right. Being faithful and generous. Like, we should love God, and we should be generous with things like our time and our money, and in our care of others. Those are the main principles when talking about being a good steward in the Bible. Now, us in food services, we almost kind of have like an extra layer or two in there. And let me explain that a little bit. So we have to carefully balance all of those things, being a good steward in all of those touch points, while we are also trying to balance being like executing the weekends with excellence, and adhering to food safety standards and requirements, right? So it can be a crazy balancing act, and I'll give you an example of that here in a second. But what does that mean for us, right? We have to do all those things, but we also have to, be excellent over the weekend. Just execute our jobs and our volunteer work with excellence. And we have food safety. We're bound by food safety requirements, right? So what does that mean for us? We, like, meaning myself and Jake and all the staff here, like, we have volunteers. We want to care. We have to care for you as people, like, right? Like, everyone's going through things. We want to pastor you. That is one of our main. That is the main job that we have here on campus. But we also want to be very respectful of your time. So when you're here, we put into practice things like checklists, and we have good working equipment, or at least we try to. The things that you need, we want you, when you're here, to have a productive time while you're here volunteering for us and executing our weekends and executing our weekdays. So we hope that our hope is always to be there, right? Now I'm going to give you the example that sort of happened, because I had a lot of feelings, and that's where God was like, use this. I love how God does that. He just speaks to me, and it's so great. I love it when he does that. But what happened was, and shout out to our weekday ladies, what happened was on Tuesday, the weekday ladies, they come through the coffee shop, and they go through all of our carts, and they reorganize everything, they clean everything, they restock everything. And while doing that, they noticed that a whole case of coconut milk was going to expire before the weekend. And so it wasn't quite expired, but they were like, hey, this is going to be expired as of like Thursday. So we won't be able to use it for the weekend. So they put it out to see if anyone wanted to use it right away, or we would eventually throw it away. Now, ask me if it made me sad to throw away an entire case of coconut milk. Absolutely, right? Because otherwise that's, however many, it's $32, I believe, is a case of coconut milk. $32, well, that's tithe money, essentially, in order to cover the cost of that coconut milk that ended up going to waste. Of course that makes me sad, because that's a resource that was improperly used. Now, we also have to carefully balance, executing the weekends with excellence. And so do we, as people who order, like myself and Jake and staff, do we just run the risk of not having coconut milk available in favor of possibly having to throw it away? Or do we just roll the dice and order it anyway? And so I think, it's like I said, it's a delicate balance, right? I am on the side of, I want to try to make sure that something is available. If I end up having to throw it away at some point, sometimes you don't even know if you're gonna throw it away or not. It's a risk, but wanting to make sure that it's available, that someone who really prefers coconut milk in their coffee, or that's just the choice that they like in their latte, that's how it's made. I want that to be available. And that's really the heartbeat behind all of that. Now, again, it's a delicate balance. We could possibly debate over that, and I'm totally fine doing that. I like to make sure that it's available. And so, am I sad that it got thrown away? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, that is wasteful. But had we had a lot of people come through and ask for coconut milk, we would have had it available. And that makes me happy, just knowing that it was at least available. So again, it's a delicate balance. And that's sort of, again, at the forefront of all of this. And like I said, it might sound a little confusing. We could totally talk about it if anyone's like, oh, I don't like the tug and the pull and trust me, it's not easy sometimes, having to make those kinds of decisions, but that is the reality of where we're at in food services, right? Jake and I spend a lot of time, moving on, right? In food services, talking about being good stewards. Jake and I spend a lot of time on Tuesdays looking back at what did we sell? What did people buy that we prepared over the weekend, and making adjustments to how much food is actually on our sheet that we say we're going to make. Okay, well, in order to think we're prepared, we're going to make 32 cheeseburgers. In order to make sure we're prepared for who might come out of the auditorium, we're going to make this many bacon cheeseburgers and chicken sandwiches and all the things, right? And so we do carefully look at those things during the week. We make adjustments based on what we think is going on, or sometimes there's just, sometimes there's just weekends where people just, all of a sudden everyone wants pizza or everyone wants hot dogs and you have pizza left. Like it's never the same. But we do try to track those things. We do count our the food that's left over. As you guys know, we do count the food that's left over, and we do make adjustments based on those things. So we do pay attention to that, and it is something that's very, very important. Now, again, what can skew those numbers, and this is my segue here, and I want to be very careful because this can be a sensitive subject to some. And it 100% is a sensitive subject. So I want to talk about how much are we helping ourselves to food without paying for it before we've deemed it waste and we have to give it away. So I want to talk very carefully about this because there are many volunteers that we have that volunteer multiple days a week. There are many volunteers that volunteer for multiple services. Some are here both Saturday and Sunday. Some are here Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, right? Like, I want to be very respectful to the volunteers that we have that work so hard for us. All of you work very, very hard. There are some volunteers who are here a lot. And I want to make sure that I'm saying this with the utmost clarity. It would be my absolute pleasure to buy you something while you are serving because you have been here for so long or you have worked so many hours this week. I would absolutely love to do that. And if you are not in a position where you can wait until the end of service to see if anything's left and we would otherwise throw it away, I would happily give that to you. But if you cannot wait until the end of service, Jake and I would really prefer that everyone pay for those items, whatever you've taken, right? Whether it's I just wanted a quick ice cream, or I just wanted to grab a quick burger. We would really love to see everyone paying for their items. That's point number one. Point number two, going back to the food safety aspect, right? That is kind of like, that's where we have to be. We have to be, that is what rules us. Again, talking about food consumption, right? If you want to have something to eat because you've been here all day, you went to service first, and then you came out and started serving, and now you're making burgers, and now we're kind of at a low point, and you just want to help yourself to a chicken sandwich really quick, or a slice of pizza or whatever. And I'll say right now too, I'm guilty of this. We just have to make sure that we are not consuming that food in the serving area. So meaning like in the grill, behind the counter, in the coffee shop behind the counter. Now that doesn't include drinks, right? Because drinks have a cover and a straw usually. Now again, if we're in the coffee shop, or we're in the kitchen, or we're in the grill, here's what I would love to see. I would love for you to take 5 minutes when we have that low time, go sit down and enjoy that sandwich or burger. And you know what I love to do? I love seeing that. And then I love to come and sit with you and talk to you about your week and catch up with you uninterrupted, where we don't have all these distractions and things like that. I would really love to do that and see that. And like I said, we have volunteers that work for us for so many services, so many hours here, multiple days. I would love an opportunity to buy that sandwich or buy that burger for you. Again, in the heart of being a good steward and making sure that the church's tithe money stay on the right purpose, is being used with the right purpose. We just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page with that. And like I said, if anyone wants clarity or clarification, or want to talk to me and Jake about it, absolutely, I completely encourage that. I would love to have a conversation with you guys about it. And I want to make sure that everyone knows how much we appreciate you. We all know you work very hard. And like I said, I'm not perfect. We just need to tighten some things up, some practices, some procedures. And we would just really love everyone's participation with that. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in to this week's video about being a good steward. Speaking of being a good steward and having resources, we just got our new coffee machines just installed this week on Wednesday. The old coffee machines were like 9 years old, so good job. Those machines are still in great shape, and they get a lot of use. And guess what's happening? So we got our new machines, right? Which, it's more of a preventative maintenance thing where we're just replacing an old item. Those machines that we got rid of, right? The old ones, those are actually going to another local church, not another CCV. They're going to another local church who don't currently do food services, or maybe they do have a coffee machine, and it's just not working. And they just need something with a little higher caliber. That's what we do with our items. So again, I think CCV does a great job, is a great example of just being good stewards. We share, we try not to waste anything good. And I love being part of an organization that has that at the forefront. So thank you for you guys and what you guys do every week, and every weekend to make sure that we are, living out the gospel, and living the way God wants us to. Love you guys. Hopefully see you in the next 48 hours. It's a beautiful day. I just love what God has given us. Would love to sit out there with you guys this weekend. Talk to you guys soon.